When you find a situation where you need some inspiration, there's an open invitation. This could be a revelation. It's true. Well, do.
Okay. Another option or thing that I wanted to make sure that we talk about is, I mentioned before, adding in table of contents as well as hyperlinks. So this is labeled as the title for right now. These options here are not labeled within the paragraph format as anything. So I'm just going to go right here and I'm going to type tables, because this was us learning about tables. Sure. And I'm going to use the heading number 1 option. Let's just say I go down here and I type images, and I'm going to label that as heading 1 as well. And then maybe underneath it, I'll bullet point and say go to insert, then image, then search, and I'll tab again and I'll say go to the bottom right corner and hit explore. Those are the 2 ways you can grab an image. What I'm doing here though is that I'm going to go up to paragraph, and instead of heading 1, I'm going to hit them with a heading 2 option. And I'm really only doing this because I wanted to show you how to insert a couple of different things. Okay, so at this point, because I utilize this paragraph formatting, I could then come in here, move my cursor towards the top or wherever I might want a table of contents, and hit insert and come all the way down to the bottom and say table of contents. So I have an option with page numbers, or I just have options with blue links. I'll click this one because I don't have multiple page numbers. So what I have now is a table of contents that allows me to hyperlink to that particular spot in the document. This is extremely helpful if you have a multi-page document going, let's say for meeting notes with your learning team, collab team. This works great if you have a live updating document that students are using to add multiple pieces of notes to. I've done this, for instance, when my students have done big research papers. I've created a template for them to keep their notes on, and then just set it up like this so that they can start to auto-populate a table of contents, because this actually does allow you, if you see here, I clicked on the table off to the side, I can just hit that refresh and it will update my table of contents based on the information that I've given. But if you have a document that's allowing you, if you have multiple pages happening, and I've had meeting notes that have come to be 20 some odd pages. This definitely allows you to go directly to the space where those things are happening. Of course, you can use the outline feature for the same thing, but I think this is pretty cool. Another option that you have instead of a table of contents is to potentially put them into a header or a footer. So I just double click down towards the bottom of my Google Doc, and I'm now going to put in a footer. So I have done in the past, I will put something like back to the top, for instance. And then in that case, I might have to actually, I have tables at the top. Maybe I put the word top. Depends on how you want to put that together. But as long as you're using the paragraph formatting, it's fine. So I have the word top. I could also use the word tables. It doesn't really matter, but I have them all formatted. Coming back to my footer, and I'm going to highlight those words, just similar to how we did a hyperlink before. Do that again. So you can go up here to insert link. You can go into insert and go to link, or you can do Command K. So instead of pasting a website URL, I'm going to drop down to here where it says headings. As I click this down arrow, I see my word top, I see the word tables, images, and then those other ones that I labeled as a heading 2. I have those available as well. So if I click top and I say apply, and then I can actually center this if I want to. This can be any size as well. Now if I click out, as I create more pages, I still am going to get that footer. So if I created insert page break, if I created another page, I'm always going to have that back to the top option. And as I click top, it will take me back up to that very first page or whatever hyperlink I use to create that, that footer. Again, you can do that in the header or the footer. Totally depends on what works for you. Okay, so that was going over paragraphing, paragraph style, table of contents, headers and footers. You also have the ability to do a bookmark. So if you put your cursor next to something, next to a word, you go into insert. Down here towards table of contents, you have the option to do bookmark. I typically don't use these because depending on the size of your font, your bookmark becomes gigantic. And so this then allows you to also, if I were to go back to my footer, I could, type the word. It doesn't really matter what word it is, but now I also have this option for bookmarks. So anywhere you drop that bookmark also could create a hyperlink for you. So a couple of different options. Okay. The next thing I wanted to make sure to talk about before we kind of move on is changing share settings. If you've never looked at this before, let's jump in. So up in the top right-hand corner, click on the share button. Now you can type a student's email or a colleague's email right away in here, and because it's connected to your BSD account, it's going to find someone's email pretty quickly. But you also have the option to change it from editing rights to only commenting rights or just can view. So for instance, I would make rubrics that would be shared with students, and I originally had them as only can view, and then a colleague said, well, I like to turn mine over to comment so that if a student has an issue with their grade or the rubric piece, that they can actually comment on that specific section. That was told to me like 5 years ago, and I've never forgotten it. I thought it was a great piece of advice. So you have those three varying levels in terms of sharing, and you can change them at any time. So if you click on this bottom corner, the advanced button is actually a link. I wish it looked more like a link, but it's not. So as I share something with a person, let's just say I'm going to share it with one of my colleagues. I can go over here and I can change it at any time. The other cool part here is underneath it says notify people. So if you've ever gotten an email from students as they create a document and share it with you, and then you're pinged like 40 times in the span of 5 minutes, if you just teach them to uncheck this box, you won't get those annoying emails. It will still be shared with you, but you won't necessarily be notified. I've done this as well as I've created like a meeting agenda or something. I've shared it with people ahead of time and just not notified them, so that when we show up to the meeting, I'm like, oh, you have the agenda, it's ready, just search for it with this or whatever. So in this case, I'm creating something I don't need him to know. So I just said, okay, skip sending the invitation. Now as I look, I can see that he has access. It's view only. I can set an expiration time, which is awesome. And then over to the side, I can just completely exit him out and he no longer has access to it. It says down here that you have made changes. So I'm going to click Save Changes. The other thing I think that's really interesting is if you go up here to the top and you click on the blue change button, you'll see the varying levels of access. So it always defaults to shared access is off unless you type in specific emails. Then the next level is anyone at the Beaverton School District with the link. Then the next level after that is anyone in the Beaverton School District, as long as they're signed in, can actually search for your document within their Google Drive, find it, use it, whatever. The next level is anyone with a link. So that's removing just the BSD, what's the word I'm looking for? Like gate or fence, and allowing anyone outside, as long as they have a Google account, to be able to access what you have. And then the last and final one, public on the web, means that anyone can find it, access it. They do not have to be logged into a Google account. And then from there. So remember, you still have the ability to say if people can edit, can view, can comment. So even if you go up to this very last level, public on the web, but it's still as only view only, people on the web can see it, but they can't mess with it. So that's something to keep in mind. Another quick option or think about when we talk about creating templates and sharing with students. Here is a quick tip. So I have up here the URL for my Google Doc, and in fact I even have it pasted right down here. What you're looking for in any kind of Google suite of products, whether it is a slide, a sheet, or a form, is all of them have this word edit at some point. If you remove that and instead type the word copy, and then that's what you give to your students, what that will do is it will actually get you to this screen. I don't know if you've ever seen this screen come up, but what this does is actually forces you to make a copy, so it's added automatically to your drive, and you aren't going to be messing with my original template. So again, all you have to do is look for the word edit. In this case, edit was right here. Take it out, change it to the word copy, and then it will force that copy screen, which can be really, really helpful for you to create templates and then have students begin to mess with it.
We're gonna find our way. Oh, 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 oh. We're living for